Thank you guys for joining me back to my channel. Again, my name is Josh from Josh is on a Mission, and I'm so excited that this new series talks about so many things that we don't talk about very often, either that's personal finance, real estate, or dealing with student loan debt. We have the one and only here, Mr. KScholl from YouTube. So go ahead, Kyle, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. No, Josh, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to chat with you today. It's been fun seeing you on your journey. My name's Kyle. I'm living in Florida. I'm married, got a couple kids, and yeah, started a YouTube channel just like yourself, and just have a passion for helping people make really healthy, smart decisions about their finances and their short-term and long-term financial planning.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you here is because we have very completely different lifestyles. It seems like you went to college and you did it right. You pay off all your debt while you were still young. You got married, you worked in finances, in real estate. I did the complete opposite, and it wasn't until my 30s that I started getting like that knowledge of real estate and finances and dealing with that. Like, what made you be so financial savvy? Like, how did this started for you?
Yeah, sure. Good question. I don't know how deep you want to go, but when I was real young, I've got three brothers, and I think that absolutely played a factor in my upbringing as well. When we were like 10 or 12 years old, 10 years old, my older brother and I mowed yards just to make $8 a yard, $10 a yard. And that, I think, work ethic and what we were able to buy with that money is probably, if you really want to go like deep, that's probably where it all started. And then as I matured in age, I saw that money was really a vehicle to allow people to have more freedom to make choices, freedom of options. And so when we were, I think when I was in like high school, we were in Tampa, Florida, and we were renovating this house for like 3 or 4 months. It felt like forever at the time. And there were my three brothers and I, my parents, dog and a cat, all of us in a 1-bedroom, little, like not even a condo, just like a 1-floor, 1-level, tiny little box. And there were 4 boys, right? And so we would have 2 boys on the pull-out sofa, and then 2 boys would sleep on the floor on the sides of the pull-out sofa for like 4 months straight. And so I had to get out of the house as much as possible. So my dad said, "Why don't you go get a job?" So I was like 14, and I applied for a job, and they said, "Hey, you turned 15 in like 3 weeks. Come back when you're 15 and we'll hire you." And then that's really what started, I'd say, my more like W-2 type of work. So I would say getting started early with a little nudge from whether it's an older sibling or your parent, I would say that's kind of what helped get me started, is having that type of encouragement from people that were the closest to me.
Got it. Okay. So it worked out for you.
We'll see. It's still working out. We'll see.
Tell me what services you provide and what is the typical day to day for you?
Sure. Well, I'm working from home right now, with my kids at home. They're off school this week. And I would say for people that don't know the ins and outs and details of what the life is like to be a financial advisor, there's really great positive aspects of it, and then there's very challenging aspects of it. It's a very difficult business to get in and stay in. A lot of people will try to be a financial advisor and then they fall on their feet or they don't do enough production. So before I became a financial advisor, double major in college, finance and real estate. And then I actually applied my real estate degree by doing about 7 or so years in real estate. So I spent 7 years doing that, helping people buy homes, and learned a lot, got my broker associate's license, made pretty good money for my 20s. And then I decided, okay, let me just take this a step further and help people a little bit more on a deeper level with their personal finances. And that's when I became a financial advisor. And so I did that for about 8 years. And I would argue I'm still doing that legally on paper, because I'm not associated with a broker dealer and I'm kind of independent on my own.
Right.
I tend to refer to myself as a financial coach a little bit more than a financial advisor, just because I'm not with one of those, Fortune 100, Fortune 200 big broker firms. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, a financial advisor, to a certain degree, is a salesperson. It's a salesperson that wants to solicit someone's business for investments and for insurance policies. And so there is a very high degree of sales where you have to put your best foot forward. You have to have a product or an investment or a financial planning recommendation that really resonates with your client. And you have to win their trust. And that's very difficult if you are 21, 22 years old, trying to talk to somebody that's in their 40s or 50s that has actually had, some time to build some wealth. So a lot of people that try to become a financial advisor right out of college don't do too well. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I think 29 when I became a financial advisor. So I had a lot of people around me that were married, having kids, and really building their life, and finances became a very strong priority in their life at that time. So I had a really nice jump start to the career because of that stage of life that I was in at the time. But I just, after 7 years of real estate sales and then 8 years of financial advisor sales, I feel like I've been in sales for 15 years, and I was just ready for a change. And so that's kind of when I said, okay, let me take a step back from doing this as a full-time career, and let me try something completely different. And that's when I started basically, trying to be independent on my own as a financial coach and doing YouTube just like you.
Me personally, as a real estate agent, I've realized that, hey, at least for me, this happens very often. Mom and dad passes away. The house, what are we going to do with it? We actually find out as children that we have no idea what to do. How often do people come to you? What is the ideal situation to do when this is happening?
Well, it's a tough situation to be in. And so to answer your question, there's two options. You can react to that type of situation, which is unfortunately what you're describing, which is when someone is unaware of real estate holdings, unaware of bank accounts, unaware of cash under the mattress, whatever it might be. Or the other option, which would be the better option, would be to be proactive about it. And so when you are reactive about it, you have such a burden because you have the emotional frustration of dealing with the loss of a loved one. And then on top of that, for anyone that isn't aware, that doesn't know, dealing with someone who is no longer with us, it's a little bit of a full-time job temporarily. You're gathering their digital accounts, you're gathering bank accounts, you're just trying to get it all organized. And like I said, on top of the emotional strains that are on top of you, either, even something as simple as a death certificate, how emotional is that to gather that from your local county or courthouse? It's just a very frustrating time. So to answer your question, I would say if you're reacting to it and there's some unexpected things, you just need to be calm. You have to be patient. You have to recognize that there will be some things that you need to learn, new terminologies. You have to maybe go through some mail. You have to go through digital assets like a cell phone or a computer and try to gather up where bills are coming from. And you might even want to jump on that sooner rather than later, because a lot of times people have transactions automatically coming out of their account. And if there's no more money, Social Security, for example, or whatever, if there's no more money going into the account and bills are trying to come out, that could create some issues and some problems there. So you really have to get organized quickly. That would be, I would say, if you're reacting to it. If you're being proactive about it, that's way smoother, way easier for those loved ones that are still here after you're gone. So something as simple as a will, maybe an estate plan, guardianship paperwork if you're a parent that has young children under the age of 18. There's a lot you can do proactively, and that would be the way to go, because then what you're essentially saying to the people that are being left behind, that are not predeceasing you, what's the word, that are succeeding you, that like your heirs, is you're telling them that you love them through these documents by saying, hey, there will be a day when I'm no longer here. When that day comes, I want this, 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 and this to happen. And I want you to be organized and prepared for it. And unfortunately, death is just one of those topics that people don't enjoy talking about. So it's a difficult conversation. And because it's a difficult conversation, people tend to avoid it. And if they could just muster up a little bit of courage, I would encourage them to have that conversation.
People don't want to talk about these things, but in our fields, we need to see it a little bit more clear. because this is going to affect our jobs as well. So going back and diving a little bit deeper, you talk about a will. So can you describe what is a will for people that don't necessarily have the information on it, and how detailed a will should be?
Yeah, sure. Uh, a will is one of the most basic estate planning documents. You can Google it and get versions of it online. You can do the DIY approach through like LegalZoom.com or USLegalForms.com would be some great resources for people to go and see how much it costs to do without an attorney. But a will basically says, when I pass away, I want this person to receive my assets. I want this person to dispose and distribute my wealth, whether that be $20 in your checking account, $20,000 in your checking account, or a few million in your checking and investments accounts. It doesn't matter. But you have things that you have specific directives and directions in the will. However, one of the most, just items that people just completely forget about is as simple as the beneficiary of your IRA or the beneficiary of your Roth IRA. Sometimes you name your spouse the beneficiary, and then your spouse predeceases you, and you completely forget to name your children or niece or nephew or a charity or whatever, whoever you want to name. So honestly, there are things that pass to the beneficiary without going through a will, without going through probate. An example would be life insurance. Life insurance, you don't need a will to have your life insurance be paid out. You just have to name a beneficiary or a contingent beneficiary, and that goes exactly the same for your 401k, your traditional IRA, your Roth IRA, your SEP, your simple, any qualified retirement account should have a beneficiary named. And then if you have any non-retirement accounts, just want to make sure that there's either a secondary person, maybe not legally on the account, but again, some sort of a beneficiary or a TOD, transfer on death, something like that would be smart without going through all of the details of getting a will. But a will basically says, hey, I've got assets, I want them to go to this person, and that's the legal form of saying that.
And you mentioned a little bit about life insurance. What details should be interested in when we're looking at life insurance?
So I don't know which direction you want to go with that, but life insurance can be owned temporarily or it can be owned permanently. The goal with life insurance is to not need it at your death. And what I mean by that is most people need life insurance when they're like me. They're married, they've got young kids, and if something were to happen to my wife or I, we would need a lump sum of money to be paid out so that we can continue to raise the family and pay bills when we go from 2 incomes down to 1. So most people need life insurance earlier on in life. I would say the need for life insurance as you progress through building your real estate portfolio, your stock market portfolio, your investments, your need for life insurance should dissipate, and you should have assets building while your debt is going down in value. So the need for life insurance as you progress through life should be less when you are older and essentially, in your last 10 or 15 years. Now, that being said, there are people that love term insurance and there are people that love whole life insurance. Those products, I would say most people need term insurance. Whole life insurance is a product that isn't necessarily for everybody. There are some aspects of it that are a little bit intriguing and appealing to some, and then there's aspects of it that people really despise. So I would say that's a case-by-case basis, but at the end of the day, life insurance is a tool in your financial toolbox, and you should use it how you see best fit.
So tell me a little bit about you and the services that you offer. Where me as a person in my 30s, when should I visit someone like you?
I offer financial coaching on a one-on-one basis. I've got access to all that stuff on my website, but at the end of the day, my goal is just to help, just like you're doing, help people make great decisions, whether it be with their real estate decisions or with their finances. And if somebody would like to have a little bit more of a one-on-one type of situation, I'm available for that. I've got several different securities licenses. I don't practice with those licenses on a one-on-one basis. I do still have them. And I also have an insurance license as well. So in the state of Florida, I'm able to solicit insurance business and work with people if they have any questions about life insurance or disability insurance or long-term care insurance. But that used to be what I focus on, gathering investments, gathering assets and insurance stuff. And now, instead of me trying to seek that out, if someone wants my help or someone, wants to work with me on stuff like that, sure, I'm available, but it's not what I'm actively going out seeking. When I produce these videos of mine, I've got nothing to sell. If you want to chit chat with me, if you want to talk with me more, you're welcome to reach out, but I don't put my videos out on YouTube with the effort and the goal of saying, hey, come work with me. What I really want to do is take someone like yourself and coach you up so that you don't need a financial advisor. Because if you really do the math, working with a financial advisor is helpful in many areas. Yes, that's true. And then there are some people that need the coaching and there are some people that need the help. But financially speaking, when you look at the fees, when you look at how much it costs to work with a financial advisor over your investing lifetime of 2, 3, or 4 decades, it can be very expensive. So when I was working more in the corporate financial advisor world, that's how I made my money. And now that I am independent and on my own, I work on what's called a flat fee only basis. Means there's no percentage of assets under management. I've got no control over the assets. It's literally just coaching. And the best analogy I could come up with is, instead of giving somebody a fish, I'm trying to teach people how to fish, so that as they navigate through life, they won't need to work with a financial advisor and pay, whether it be an A-share sales charge, or whether it be a high commission on an annuity, or whether it be some sort of life insurance product, or a percentage of assets under management for 2 or 3 decades. It really does add up over time. So now I'm trying to just empower people to make a lot of those decisions on their own.
Going back into that, so do you prepare like a plan for each individual? Do you sit down with them and talk about something they can fix or something they need to do? How does that work when someone comes to you for financial coaching on a one-to-one basis?
Yeah, so it's a relationship, and yeah, planning is absolutely involved. I'm real big on planning. That's one of the things that I see isn't really that prevalent on YouTube. Is, there's lots of investment videos, lots of great videos, but how does all that correlate into one big financial plan? So yeah, planning is absolutely a part of it, but it starts off with just a conversation and learning more about where someone's at in their life at that moment in time. Because some people have complex financial lives, but a lot of people have very simple financial lives. And although planning is a very important part of the process, some people don't need planning right away. Some people just need a kick in the butt to say, hey, you're spending too much money. You need to live below your means. You need to pay off your debt. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of times that's where it starts. And then the relationship builds from there. So it just depends. To answer your question, it just depends on where everyone is at that particular time in their life when our paths cross.
And how can people contact you? I know you have a website, you have a channel.
All of my YouTube videos in the description, there's links to certain places where you can reach out to me. My website's one of them. There's a link to coaching calls if anybody wants to have like a chit chat with me. So all that's there.
Kyle, thank you so much for chatting with me and being able to express yourself and get to know a little bit more about estate planning and all the financial services that you offer as well. Thank you so much. You guys, I'm going to post down below the links for Kyle's YouTubes and website, so you can go ahead and follow him. Do you have anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It's been a fun and a pleasure getting to know you, man. And I love what you're doing. I love your videos. I think you're doing a great job. And you're a hustler, man. Keep it up. If I was buying real estate in Puerto Rico, I would be giving you a call for sure, man. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Let's make it happen. When are you planning to buy?
One step at a time, man. One step at a time.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate it. Thank you for having.
Yeah, man.
For coming
for sure.
It's not a game. It's a rich thing.